question about the study on race, because gentrification is often used as a short term for race. But it's borrowed from the British, and it means ownership. And I'm wondering how hard it would be to map who owns the property in a neighborhood, and then look at the differences, like for instance, between a neighborhood where redlining was proved. I think Clinton Hill, redlining was proved, and so there's a lot more black ownership in Clinton Hill. And I don't know if that's true in like Bushwick. So who owns the property and how much advertising is done, and the differences in food. Because when I moved to Clinton Hill, '95, I don't remember a lot of liquor ads or so on compared to what I would see in Harlem.
So your question is, who owns just the buildings, and does that affect the advertising or the fast food?
Like who owns the building that the ad is on? And so
yeah, so that's a good question. Actually, so we looked at, before we analyzed the alcohol content, we looked at ad spaces in general. So we compared actually Clinton Hill, Fort Greene to Harlem, and mapped the amount of ad spaces. So ad spaces take a number of forms. Some are street furniture, so bus shelters, phone kiosks, and then you have the ones above the subways. Those are urban panels. And you have 8 sheets on the side of buildings, 30 sheets. You have billboards, which they call large bulletins, and then you have wallscapes, which are many stories high. So we actually found that vacant lots was one of the biggest predictors of ad spaces. And there weren't really income differences. So Harlem had about the same as Fort Greene and Clinton Hill. But basically, when there's more vacant lots, I'm hypothesizing that, first of all, there's more available space to put an ad, but also it probably signals to marketers that that's a neighborhood where there's less community infrastructure, political clout, whatever it is, that allow, sort of a form of physical disorder that signals, this is somewhere we might be able to put our ad space. It also probably means that landlords there have greater financial incentive to have ads up. But the ad spaces themselves are controlled by different outdoor media companies, Vista, Clear Channel, Titan, Lamar, a whole bunch of them. So, I don't know if knowing the ownership of the individual tax lots would tell you so much, over and above knowing that the neighborhood itself is predominantly black. Because again, it was really driven more by the racial demographics than by income. And I also used to live in Clinton Hill, and I think one thing that is true is that those kind of ad spaces that are so ubiquitous often just sort of fade into the background, and you may not notice them, but they're there. And I think so what our study on the drinking pattern showed is that all that advertising cumulatively does have an effect on behavior, even if it's operating out of awareness.